This is the Infinite Energy Show, where together we explore the infinite dimensions of energy.
We're sisters Kay and Shi, seasoned restaurateurs, university educators, and the visionary co-founders of the Neuroencoding Institute.
We're not just sisters by blood, but your allies in personal growth and transformation.
Here's what we know about you. You want more energy.
How do we know?
Because everybody does.
Including the most successful people in the world.
So let's get to it, because in the world of infinite energy, anything is possible. All right, infinite energy. It sounds limitless. It sounds fun. It sounds like a lot of potential. It sounds ethereal. It sounds kind of vague.
Part scientific, part mystical, and all the way fascinating. So let's take it down from the two root words, infinite and energy.
First up, infinite. Infinite means limitless, unable to be counted, unending. You think of the symbol, it's an 8 on its side, limitless. So even though it encompasses everything, it's actually pretty easy to understand.
Energy, however, has a few different dimensions to it. The first one is energy in physics. In physics, energy is defined as the capacity to do work.
In biology, for biological systems, energy refers to the capacity for an organism to perform work.
In environmental contexts, energy is when we can turn a natural resource into something that can help us to perform work.
And in everyday use, we often use the term energy as a style of motivation. I feel energized to do something, right? It's this measure of strength, of willingness.
Let me guess, to do work?
Well, yes, right? In order to get something done.
Yeah. So this is often associated with our mental well-being and our overall health. Energy is also known often in the spiritual sense, where we see this referred to as chi or prana in Eastern religions, and energy can be described almost abstractly as a life force or the very vitality that keeps us going every day.
Here's what we notice the common thread through all of these definitions. There's some piece about work, of course, but behind the work, what that really means is flow, activity, action, movement. And so that's what we see emerging from all of these energy definitions, that they come down to this common piece of some kind of movement or flow.
So how do we keep ourselves moving infinitely? How do we continue to grow our capacity for our mental well-being, our health, our capacity to do work, to take on more, to be vital in our lives? Well, hey, that's what we're exploring today in the Infinite Energy Show.
All right, it's time to play a little fact or cap. Is it true or is it not true? And starting with the topic of energy, even though it's sometimes easy to understand, there are a lot of untruths out there.
So let's go explore a little bit from one of the fathers of the scientific discoveries around energy, Mr. Albert Einstein himself. Now, many of us have the idea that he said this quote: "Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of what you really want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It cannot be any other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics." Now, Shi, fact or cap?
Cap. Einstein did not say this. This is not a true Einstein quote. So now you know, if you hear somebody quoting this, that energy is everything and that's all there is to it. That is not a true Einstein quote. However, there are elements of truth in it, and we would wager that Einstein would likely agree with this, but he did not say it verbatim.
So let's put a cap on that totally false Einstein quote and maybe pull some of the truths out of this that are present. Now, in physics, it is stated through the law of conservation energy that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It simply transforms from one form to another.
So Einstein may have not said that energy is everything, but he did give us a little formula that you're probably also familiar with, and that is that E equals mc squared. And E in this equation stands for energy.
Now, E stands for energy equals M stands for mass. And then we see mc squared. This is energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. Now, on its very most basic level, what this equation is insinuating, now remember, it's the theory of relativity. This is not a law, but this is Einstein's greatest theory. If he left us with anything, this was it. Energy and mass is what he's saying here are essentially interchangeable. So if energy cannot be created or destroyed, and mass and energy are essentially interchangeable, when we look around at everything around us, it's all essentially the same exact thing.
Different forms of energy just living in different states, right? Energy equals mass, or you can think about mass as matter times the speed of light at dizzyingly amounts of speed, which means when you put motion behind the things that matter, you create the energy to bring them to form. And so this little formula here, while a physics equation, is also helpful in the personal growth and development realm as well.
We hope that this has helped you see a little bit about how infinite energy really is a tangible thing. It's all around us. It is us, and we're going to explore it further as we go along.
All right, if you're a living, breathing human being, which pulse check, you're listening, so you must be, then you want more energy in your life. The next 5 questions we're going to bring for you are exactly what you can ask yourself to assess where you're experiencing energy deficits.
So get ready for a personal energy assessment. That's what we have coming here for you. 5 questions to help you assess where you are in your personal energy. Now, each one of these is going to follow along with a topic that we're going to unpack and explore as today's show goes on. Our first question comes from this physics side of things. Remember, this is your capacity to do work. The question is, how effectively are you using your physical and mental resources to accomplish your daily tasks and goals? Think about how efficiently and effectively you calendar your time. How effectively do you tackle the things that you know can bring you further along in your life? Where do you fit things in or squeeze things out for your priorities? This is where you're taking a little bit of personal stock around how you organize your physical and mental resources in order to make your whole life happen.
So we have the physics lens. Now let's put on the biology lens here. Remember, first we had the capacity to do work. Now it's about the ability to do work. And so this question is all about asking yourself, am I giving myself enough nutrients and rest and hydration needed in order to sustain the energy I need throughout the day to accomplish that I want to do? So this means looking at your sleep schedule, looking at the food that you're intaking, look at your social media habits, and finding those places that might be energy drains for you that aren't allowing you to have the top ability to do work.
Next up, let's talk about environmental energy. How are you interacting with your environment to harness and conserve energy, both in terms of your personal space and your natural resources? Even beyond your natural resources, the resources that you have available to you, are you utilizing them in ways that are most effective? Is your space set up so that it can serve and support you? Do you keep the things around you organized and in order? And does that help your mind? Now, these are all questions for you to consider, but we're just doing a light check-in on each of these 5 areas of energy.
That's right. Next up, number 4, this is that piece that had to do with the everyday use, kind of the way we use energy in our common day vernacular. So this question is all about your mood. How do I feel on a regular basis when it comes to my energy levels? How do I feel when it comes to my motivation levels towards doing the things that I know will be good for my life and the things that I want to do and continue to engage in? So how is my everyday average mood and energy level?
Finally, let's talk about the spiritual and holistic context around energy. Ask yourself this question. Are you in tune with your inner energy? And how do you nurture it with practices like prayer, mindfulness, journaling, or meditation? Are you active in exploring the spiritual energy inside? Because when we do exploring, we do expanding. And ultimately, expansion is what helps to build our capacity to do work, to process energy, and so much more.
So these are your 5 questions. First, you're assessing your capacity. Then you're assessing your ability. Then you're assessing how well you're using the resources around you. Then you're looking at how your mood is affected, how motivated you are. And finally, how connected you are and how energized you feel from that spiritual space. And when you answer these 5 questions, you'll be able to see how energy truly is permeating each and every part of your life.
Fold disclosure, we are not physics professors, we are not scientists, we are just a couple of entrepreneurial sisters who have a deeply held value to assassinate complexity as much as we possibly can. And so we're going to talk about a few different angles of the energy of physics, the capacity to do work, and how they relate to you in your life.
Right. This episode is all about infinite energy as a topic in and of itself, which means we've got to understand this idea of energy from each one of these different lenses. And if you're like us, the more you explore this and unpack it, the more you're able to apply it to your life for better results.
So let's dive in with just a couple of physics principles that may help you understand your own capacity to do work. Now, the first one we've already covered. This is the law of conservation energy. This is that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed from one form into another. Now, this is really encouraging because it can mean that actually nothing ever really truthfully gets destroyed. It just transforms into a new state. Now, when we take this into a metaphor for maybe our life, we can see that probably some similar tones, right? Have you ever gone through a situation where it felt like your whole life was destroyed only to come out on the other end and feel like a phoenix rising from the ashes? Well, hey, that's just what's physics working as above, so below.
And as we've already quoted earlier, the famous physicist Albert Einstein gave us that theory of relativity equals mc squared. We talked about that, but it belongs here as we think about energy from the physics perspective, as does the fact that whether we're looking at energy from a physics or a biological perspective, we're typically going to break it down into two different types of energy. The first being potential energy. This is that energy that's being stored, that's being put to use in a waiting bin so that it can be ready to fire when it's needed. Potential energy is what hasn't come to pass, emotion or the work hasn't happened yet, in opposition to kinetic energy. Our second type of energy, kinetic energy, the kind of energy that's in motion, that's doing something, powering something, fueling something, advancing something forward. So potential and kinetic, it's present in both physics and in your life.
My favorite part about potential energy in combination with the law of conservation energy, which is where we say, okay, basically everything is energy. It can't be created or destroyed, which means that the energy that you pull into your body and into your life and into the things that you do, the energy that you create, the kinetic energy that you create comes from a pool of limitless potential energy. You have the ability, hello, welcome. This is a kinetic vehicle. Look at our bodies, aren't they cute? Kinetic vehicle for transferring energy from a limitless potential pool that you can then take and to move forward into your life. You know, sometimes when I'm tired, I like to think about this because the truth of the matter is that yes, my body might be tired, but I have a limitless amount of energy that I can draw from at any time.
Oh, well, this gets me excited as we talk about energy in this way. And this usually leads us to the next piece in physics, the quantum mechanics and the quantum study of energy. This is where we start to see the observer effect. We start to see energy flowing and how it's influenced. Its flow is influenced based on those who are there or not there. And we're going to dive into that a little bit more, but understanding that this quantum level of energy and the amount of influence that we have on it ourselves is probably bigger than you think.
So on a quantum level, when we look at two tiny little molecules underneath one of the biggest telescopes or microscopes ever, we'll see that as soon as you bring eyes onto it, it starts to act differently. The molecules on the very base level act differently when someone's watching. And if they remove the observer, they go back to doing what they were before. Now, you heard me say the phrase earlier, as above, so below. That just means that when we see these little things, we might also see strings of them in society and in our daily lives. So let's explore a little bit about what that might look like next. So how does this idea of the observer effect glow up and grow up, maybe onto a macro scale? Well, Shi, as the resident sociologist here in the family with your master's degree in sociology and teaching sociology at the University of Nevada, Reno, please tell us a little bit more about the Hawthorne effect?
Well, just as Kay mentioned, when we look at the molecular level, those two little molecules behaving differently when there's an observer, the molecules aren't the only thing that behave differently when there's an observer. Humans do this as well. And this is in the social sciences known as the Hawthorne effect, named after a factory in Hawthorne where they went in to observe the workers to try to increase their productivity. But here's what was funny about the study. When the researchers came in, they wanted to see how could we impact the productivity in terms of light. And so they turned the lights up really bright, and all of the workers start working much, much faster. And they say, wow, this is really fascinating. Well, by deduction, then when we turn it down, their productivity should go down. But what happened when the lights went down? They continued to be more productive. In fact, started producing even faster and faster. And it wasn't until after uncovering the data and looking at it from a bunch of different angles that it dawned on the researchers that the lights had nothing to do with it. It was actually the presence of the researchers themselves that was impacting the productivity of the workers. And now forevermore, it's known as the Hawthorne effect in social science.
Now, this is so important because when we think about seeing this on a quantum level, which means on the very smallest levels of our atoms and our molecular space, we see, okay, when an observer is watching, they behave differently, but then we pull it up to a social level, to a social experiment, and the same thing is happening. Didn't matter if the lights were up. It didn't matter if the lights were down. What mattered is that someone was watching. Now think about this in your own life. Think about the difference and the chance of success that you have when you are accountable alongside other people. You know, Shai, I'll never forget when I was very first starting my workout habit. She was already running like 3 miles a day. She is running queen. We love her. It's amazing. Now, I was trying to begin a workout habit. Now, if you've ever tried to start a workout habit, you know that it's difficult. But Shyla said, hey, look, I'm already on the habit. Why don't I be your observer? Every day when both of us complete a workout, we'll throw a 1 in the chat. And it'll be 1 out of a goal. We'll do 1 out of 200 workouts. And we'll just count up to 200 sister workouts together. And my goodness, did having an observer in that situation significantly improve my opportunity for creating a workout habit.
That this is the power of accountability groups, that power of your network, the power of an observer on influencing your energy. So now that you can understand it from an intellectual place, that's great to have more knowledge, but it's even better when you apply that knowledge to make your life better. And that's exactly what this can tell you to do. If you've got something that you're stuck on, that you need better results on, get yourself an observer and create your own Hawthorne effect. Studies show that 65% of participants are better at completing their goal when they have an accountability partner or someone observing their efforts. So do yourself the favor and use this science to your advantage so that you can use the observer effect to better your life.
Look, that same study found that if you have a regular accountability check-in with that person on a weekly level with an observer in your life, that your chances of succeeding at your goal actually skyrocket to 95%.
95!
Like you're basically guaranteed to get whatever it is that you want done if you just get yourself an observer. So you're welcome, the infinite energy of physics. Let's get on to our next level.
All right, we talked about energy in the physics. Now let's dive a little bit deeper with energy in the biological sense. When it comes to biology, remember, we're talking about energy from a place of the ability to do work.
This means your biological system, at least for us, how does this relate to us? This is talking about our biological system and how well it's set up in order to give us the ability to perform the tasks that we want to do in our lives. Now, the good news is that your body is literally an energy conversion machine. You eat food, it creates energy in your body, and you dispose of waste on the back end, right? Your body is already a system that is beautifully designed to convert that infinite amount of energy into whatever it is that you need.
I love that aspect of our bodies. The fact that we take in food and sleep and we transform that energy so that we can use it to do work, right? And work looks like all kinds of different things for all of us. But this process is a very natural process that's present in all natural forms. And hence why we talk about it here in this biological sense.
So we talked earlier a little bit about potential and kinetic energy. This belongs in the physics sense, but it also belongs here in the biological sense, right? We have potential energy already stored up inside our bodies. In fact, go ahead and raise your hand in the air. Go ahead and put your hand down. Go ahead and touch your nose with your other hand and touch your head. Very good job. You can put that back down. Now check you out. You have the ability to perform some kind of work. Way to go. Now your body is already set up and you use that latent potential energy to create kinetic energy through the movement.
We always like to think about too this idea that, your body receives energy in terms of electricity as well, right? As long as your heart beats, you live. And that heart is an electrical current. And when that electrical current goes away, that energy source goes away, your biological body then starts to decompose. And so when we think about this energy level from the biological sense, it's the electrical current that's fueling us. It's also the metabolism inside of us, right? That ability to take what we're eating and what we're consuming and then metabolize it and turn it into the energy sources our body recognizes in order to burn them as fuel.
Now, metabolism is a biological process, but if we think about even the ability to take something in, to digest it, and to convert it out, how often do we take in what's happening in our world, digest it in our own selves, and then convert it into life lessons or into a way of moving forward, right? So metabolism is happening biologically, but on other levels as well. We also look at photosynthesis and respiration. This is a biological process present in both plants and in humans. Now, this is fun because respiration, do it with us. Breathe in, breathe out. You just did it. The plants are doing the exact same thing. And where they provide carbon dioxide,
there you go,
we provide oxygen and a beautiful symbiotic system emerges.
Well, maybe it's the other way around, but like we said, we're not scientists here. We're just here to bring you the subject around infinite energy so that you can take these concepts and understandings and then apply them to your life so that they work just like energy does for you.
All right, finally, we're going to talk about two little heroes that are working all the time inside your body for helping you to transfer energy. The first one is called ATP. This is an energy carrier that works inside your body in order to carry energy out into your cells. Now, why is this important? This is important because it's a reminder that there are millions and millions of cells working to your advantage inside, helping you to always convert the infinite amount of energy available into the energy that you need to do whatever it is that you want to do in your life.
Well, we're so grateful for that little ATP, and we're also so grateful for the idea of activation energy, because this is a process that happens inside of our bodies, but also inside of our minds, where when we are able to remove energetic barriers, we allow the exchange and flow of energy to happen more freely. And so when we think about this idea of how do we remove these barriers so that the activation energy, the motivation, the transition, that moment from potential to kinetic happens in an easier pace and faster than what we had before, that's that optimization piece that we're looking for. It's happening on that cellular level, and it can happen on the mental and relational level for you as well.
So energy exists ethereally and scientifically through physics. It also exists very tangibly right here in our biology because we are given the most beautiful systems for helping to convert energy. And we're going to talk a little bit about Shyla and I's personal journeys into converting our biological systems into the most effective systems possible for energy. But we've learned a lot of hard lessons along the way, and we can't wait to share them with you.
Now, in this biological sense of energy flow, you know these examples from nature, like the example of the caterpillar turning into the butterfly, right? The caterpillar eats a bunch of green leaves. They're consuming a bunch of energy, and then they're building a cocoon. They're literally liquefying their bodies on the inside, and then they emerge as something completely different. This conversion of energy in order to transform is a biological, natural process, and it's one that all of us are are using and walking as well. We're all along this biological path. Some of us are walking along it way down physically and mentally. Some of us have gotten lost off the path, but walk it we all do. And so this is one of the places where we want to share a little bit of our journey about how we've made some biological energetic differences that have helped us maybe not turn into butterflies, but certainly get a little prettier.
So we're going to do a little bit of rewind game on this. Let's take this back about a decade. 10 years ago, Kay and Shi, the two of us were going on a trip. We're in Las Vegas and we're having a great time. But we have two major priorities on a very fun trip. This is a really energetic exchange. We're so excited. We're in Las Vegas. This is going to be so fun, right? Talk about a high energy moment. And the two priorities that we had on this trip, the first one was drinking. The second priority that we had on this trip was the food that we were going to eat while we were there. That included things like bacon and biscuits, that included things like steak dinners and heavy appetizers and desserts. Now, when we look back at this time, we can see how these girls were very energetic people. When we had the energy, we were energized. But when we didn't have the energy, it felt draining. Oftentimes, we felt like we could barely get out of bed in the morning, or by the afternoon, we felt like we had no gas left in the tank, especially when it came to dealing with our kids. So we've made some critical changes. And from those 10 years ago girls heading off to Vegas with those priorities, wow, have we found some real key differences in creating more biological energy.
In contrast here, on our most recent trip, we had no alcohol consumption. In fact, it's been 5 years for us since we had a drink. There was no rock bottom story, just slow changes that ended up making us realize that was not an energy giver for us, but a big energy taker. We're also ordering far more healthy foods. We're eating at more regular instances. We're planning ahead when it comes to those energy sources. And we've shifted the mentality around, the indulgent food is what makes me feel good in the moment. And that's the highest priority, to the healthy food that tastes good, feels good both in the moment now, and the highest priority energizes me for the tasks that I want to do or the work that I want to perform later.
We thought that the food and the alcohol and maybe sometimes the gossip or the unkind ways of thinking, we thought all of that gave us energy, right? You think, well, I'm eating in order to gain energy.
It's fun.
Right? It's fun. It's a good thing. But when we're eating in order to gain energy, what are we eating? And is it maximizing my energy? If I'm drinking in order to let loose and increase my energy, is it really doing that? Or am I borrowing my future energy in order to bring it into the present? And so some small critical changes for us that might not be something as drastic for you as a total lifestyle change, but just some things to consider, that when you are trying to create more energy in your life, the keys and the dials that you have direct access to are the ones inside that biological system that, remember, is that transfer point from that infinite pool of energy to the life of your dreams.
So think about the ways that you can activate your energy in your biological system and the optimization that you can make in order to make it a little bit better in there.
Next up, let's talk a little bit about energy as it relates to our environment. How do we interact with our environment to harness and conserve energy? This is both in terms of our personal space, our lives, and the natural resources available to us.
Right. In the grand scheme of things, when we're talking about this environmental energy, we're talking about climate change and renewable energy resources and those kinds of things. And you might be thinking that doesn't really necessarily apply to me. But when you narrow down your focus to your environment and your resources and the energy that's either giving or taking in those areas, you'll see that it's a little bit more deep than you might be giving it credence. And it's a place where you can find those little hinges that will swing big doors for you.
So let's take a look at the different layers of environmental environment. We're going with it. Let's take a look at the different layers of environment that we can have at place in our life. Now, there's your relationship to the environment at large, which is our world, the natural resources that we have. Are you doing your part to recycle, to turn off the lights, to conserve energy when we can, those sorts of things? Then there's that personal space environment, right? What is immediately around me? And is my environment, my room, my house, my living room, is it set up for me to be most optimized in what it is that I'm doing? Then there's also your thinking environment. If there's no structure inside your thinking environment, it can get a little out of control. We could spend a whole entire episode on that, so we won't dive too far into it here, but your thinking environment is one of those things that can really impact you. Now, when we're considering our environment from a personal level, we want to take this out of just environment from a physical space and also consider our resources.
Right. Environment is all about the resources around us. But the truth is, the number one most important resource to you is your resourcefulness, your ability to look at the resources that you have around you, as varied and creative as they may be, and use them to your advantage. Use them to energize your efforts and advance whatever it is that you're trying to do. And so getting intentional about our environment so that we can display our own resources to ourselves in a way that allows us to use them when the time is right, allows us to really tap into more and more of that potential infinite energy.
You might be wondering, what resources do I even have available to me? Things like the resource of money, the resource of time, the resource of connection and relationships, the resource of your own energy, which if you've learned anything in this podcast, now you know your energy is limitless and totally infinite. And you are just in charge of learning how to channel it the best way. So again, ultimately, you can live a life that is optimized for everything that you desire.
So when we think about our environment around us, we think about that physical space. I think about a story recently that happened to us just this last Halloween. Now, just like most parents, we like to take the candy and bring it inside of the parent area so that the parents can be adults about it and monitor the candy situation.
Be adults about it.
Yes, but this candy bowl happens to sit on the dresser inside of our closet. And won't you know, every single time you pass by it, you want a candy. Well, I'm saying I'll just take the accountability here. I want a piece of candy every time I make eye contact with those Yorks and those Snickers, right? And so I found myself having 5, 6, sometimes 7 pieces of candy in a day in those few weeks after Halloween. And then I realized that my environment was not set up for my energy optimization or for my ultimate goals. And so we just took that bowl and moved it into a shelf only like 5 feet away, but in a closet where now clothes were over it and I wasn't making direct eye contact with it. Think about those little tiny environmental changes that could help you with the habits that you're seeking to either create or destroy, and think about the ways that you can create your environment around you. I promise you'll find some low-hanging candy that you can easily move and make things better. Next up, we're talking about that everyday use, the common vernacular. When we're using energy, I don't have the energy for that, or I feel really energized towards that. This is that idea of our mood and our motivation. When it comes to energy, how is it impacting our mood and motivation?
And we've talked a lot about ways that you can optimize your environment, the way you can optimize your energy itself, and you can optimize your body in order to create better mood and motivation. And so really, when we talk about energy in its everyday sense, do I have the energy to this or do I not have the energy to that? This is what we mean. Now, if you've ever been around a child, you likely know that there hits a point when their energy is no longer present, where they hit a wall and they are absolutely insufferable and intolerable and incalculably terrible, terrible demons. And when you say to them, "Oh, honey, for goodness sake, go to bed," you are so tired. What do they say?
I'm not tired. Usually that's what they say, right? I'm not tired, because they're rallying against the fact that there's a governor or a boundary being put in place. And of course they are. They're children. But how often do you do this to yourself? You've got rims on the road. You are overworked, underappreciated, overextended, underpaid, all of the things. Your mood and motivation are at all-time lows. And instead of doing what you know you should do, maybe go to bed, right, in our kids' perspective here, or have a drink of water, move our bodies around, lots of us try to just muscle through. And what we can tell you as recovering muscle people, that doesn't always work. Reps in the gym you got to have them. Muscling when you're injured, not a good idea.
So this idea of creating your mood and motivation, of enhancing these things by giving yourself the opportunity to check in on your biological resource for converting energy, to check in on your physical environment and how it's set up for your success, to check in on your relationship to energy at large. Do you believe that it is an infinite source that you can pull from at any time? Now, when we do these things, we give ourselves a little bit of grace, and we give ourselves the opportunity to increase our mood and motivation, to get in a better mood, to be more motivated to do something different and something else. We stop playing the role of the child, and we start playing the role of the person who's looking to intentionally move our life in the direction that hopefully we dream of. Last but absolutely not least, we are going to cover energy as it relates to the spirit self, as it relates to your spiritual nature. Our spiritual and holistic context is here where we're going to look at energy as this vital life force. We see this present in many religions across the globe. It's called shakti. It's called prana. It's called karmic energy. It's called the Holy Spirit. Energy is marked in our history and in our futures in a big way when it comes to our spirituality.
In fact, much New Age spiritualism allows the word energy to maybe take that place of the capital G God, right? That place of whatever the infinite life force is, or the creator at large, however it is that you want to quantify it. We've seen people using the word energy for this. And so you might refer to it in that way. However it is that you at least connect in a spiritual level, energy comes into play here. And if you're not energized by a spiritual connection in your life, you'll find pieces of your life more monotone. You'll find lacking depth. You'll find a lot of relationships staying at a surface level, because the spiritual level and connection isn't just about paying tribute to some higher power. It's about going deep in yourself and understanding the way that you reflect the world at large, the way you enact the world as you'd like to see it be for others, and the way in which you advance in the world and interact with those around you. And so this is a beautiful concept that, yes, a little more ethereal, but the idea of energy in the spiritual sense is one that those who have a strong spiritual practice will tell you this is their true wellspring of energy.
When we look at a person who is alive, we can look at them through certain machines that give us a read of the energy that their body is emitting. If we, by contrast, look at a cadaver, a dead body, we will see that in a certain machine that body is not emitting any energy at all. So what is the difference between the alive body and the cadaver? Well, the difference is that vital life force energy inside. Now, what it looks like for each of us is different, but how we connect to it, as Shyla said, can really mean a lot for our lives and can increase the levels of satisfaction that we feel, our happiness, our calmness, and our presence. We invite you to just open it maybe a little bit. Even if it feels difficult for you, one of the things that you can do to really stoke your connection to your spiritual self, that spiritual, vital, infinite energy inside, is to stoke inside the emotion of gratitude.
We find that gratitude is such a beautiful emotion because it's an easier one to reach for when you're in a less than productive state. So when you're feeling less than productive, aka negative or frustrated or angry or sad, when you're in those places and someone says, just choose happy, right? Like that sounds really great to just choose happy, but going from frustrated to happy is really tough. One of the bridge emotions that we have found you have access to no matter where you are on the emotional scale is the emotion of gratitude and the practice of finding appreciation by shifting into a level of gratitude, by forcing your brain and your internal narrative to start focusing on things it's grateful for. You can bridge from that negative emotion into a more positive one, and this actually builds your spiritual muscle, allows you to flow energy more easily. The more you do this, the easier it will get.
Now, your brain being an awesome biological supercomputer that was made thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago over a course of many trials and errors happens to need things to be really super simple in order for it to succeed. So if you're wondering, okay, how do I be grateful, and that's still not working for you, our secret hack when it comes to getting through to that, what is commonly called the lizard brain, is to ask questions. If a computer speaks in zeros and ones, your brain speaks in Q's and A's. And so when we ask our brain simple questions, it can bring forward simple answers. If you're trying to use gratitude as a bridge to elevate your mood and elevate your energy, there's a really easy 4-word question that you can mantra to yourself to help you getting into that way. Now here it is. I said it was easy, Shy, but I don't know. Are they gonna be able to do it? This is really tough. Okay, ready? Write it down. What do I like?
What do I like? If you can ask yourself that over and over, your brain is forced to come up with an answer. And then it will keep answering it because that's how our brains work. What do I like? What do I like? What do I like? Well, I like that I woke up this morning. I like that my car's heater works and I'm not cold when I'm driving. I like that my kid said I love you today. I like that I woke up and that the bed was already made. Right? You can find all these things and that biological supercomputer will do what it is designed to do and start redirecting the flow of energy inside of your brain towards more productive thoughts that produce more productive feelings, that produce more productive actions, that give you more productive results. And so starting with gratitude can really be such a key piece for all of you, for all of us, and for you.
Just like you, we are forever learners. And one of the things that we started this summer that has been so impactful for us in helping to further our spiritual energy and the amount of energy that we are even able to bring forward into our lives was actually learning and implementing a daily meditative practice.
So first, we read the book Inner Engineering by Sadhguru. He's an Indian mystic and guru. Sad actually means inner or self. And then guru means teacher. So it's not like he's a boohoo guru. That's not what it's about. It's about he's learned his spiritual journey and lessons through his own trial and error. And now he teaches others that as well. So over the summer of 2023, we got to go to the Inner Engineering conference where we read the book. We went through the virtual program and then we went to the conference in Los Angeles. And over this 2 days, not only did we get to learn from Sadhguru more about this, but we got to learn the 21-minute Shambhavi Kriya Yoga technique. That's a daily meditation practice that allows you to deepen your spiritual energy and connection. But it was an intense process. There was 2 days of intense learning, of yogic stretching, of learning different breathing patterns and techniques. But what we can tell you is now that more than half a year later, this has absolutely brought a new level of depth to our spiritual energy and unlocked some doors that were previously closed to us that we're only more excited to see what's behind them as we continue.
It's been amazing to feel the level of presence, the level of conviction, the things that have gone away through the sense of clarity that has come forward from this daily meditative practice. And we're not telling you to go out and learn Shambhavi. We're telling you that doing something consistently to build your spiritual energy works. How do we know? Because we work it. We are doing this actively. We're on the front lines right alongside you, looking for the ways that we can grow and develop in order to create the life of our dreams. And what has really made us feel like we've gotten just a little bit closer has been this daily practice of connecting to this vital life force energy and allowing it to flow into our lives with love, presence, and grace.
All right, so today we dove right into the topic of infinite energy. Infinite, limitless, boundless, cannot be counted. Energy, a little harder to understand, but we unpacked it from a multitude of lenses, including the lens of physics, the lens of biology, the lens of mood and motivation, the lens of spirituality, and the lens of environment.
Remember, all of these lenses are here to help you learn maybe just a little bit more on how you can channel the infinite source of energy through your life and into whatever it is that you want. We dove into some questions questions that you could think about and could ask yourself to gauge, where am I? We even gave you a question that can help you increase your energy in any moment that you're looking to do so. There were practical tips, there were fun stories and examples, and you know there's always more here on the Infinite Energy Show.
We also know that here in this episode, we totally busted the cap that Einstein said the quote, "Everything is energy."
Cap.
Now, he was a physicist, and we know that he believed in the theory of relativity, that he gave us that beautiful equation, E equals mc squared. And we know that energy cannot be created or destroyed. But it was fun to unpack that a little bit and to understand where are we funneling and channeling energy inside of our lives so that we can live the lives of our dreams.
That's a wrap for today. But next time here on the Infinite Energy Show, we're going to take another energy out from the sidelines and we're going to put it in the middle. We're going to take a look all around the angles of that energy and discuss a little bit more about how you can utilize it in your life.
It's one of our favorite things to do on the Infinite Energy Show is take any topic and put it in the middle and then walk ourselves and you along with us around it as we see every angle. And next time we're looking at every angle of the energy of success.
You want more of it, and so do we. So let's look at how the people who have gotten the success they've dreamed of have harnessed energy in order to do so, and how those who maybe have fell short of their dreams didn't optimize their lives in order to gain what they wanted.
You definitely don't want to miss the next episode, so stay tuned. And in the meantime, make sure that you subscribe to the Infinite Energy Show, that you like and comment and share this with your friends, and we hope to see you again real soon.
Remember, this comes at you with love from your sisters, Kay and Shi.